Welcome back to Umbrella Rebellion. Today, we are going to hit the last statement question thing that we were working on. And so we will actually be moving on to a different page. Woohoo! Okay, again, question number 17 is what we are still on. How can I understand what is really happening in this complex world? And Bill Gothard gives us an exercise to control our minds and what we think. And I forgot I've chopped off statement 14, so I need to open the book. Statement number 14. The history of mankind is simply a continual repetition of itself. Let us see what dear leader Gothard has to say about this. I love how all of these are false. What's the point in a true false question if none of them are true? What is that? That's got to be something psychological. That has to be like a manipulation tactic. Any therapist in this group, any psychiatrist in this group, tell me if I'm onto something here. Before we get to the answer, please make sure that you're following us on whatever platform you are listening to us right now. You can also find us on Substack, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I am focusing most of my energy on TikTok, YouTube, and Substack. You can subscribe to us over on Substack. If you have the means, please consider doing a paid subscription to help support this work and cover some of the costs associated with producing this podcast. Let's get to the answer now. 14. False. History is not continuous repetition. It is God's program for man built around the person of Jesus Christ. There is a beginning and an ending. Within this structure, there are repeated lessons to mankind about Christ and his standards of living. History is his story. Hebrews 1 and 2. I am not reading 2 whole chapters of the Bible. That would make this insanely long. So I'm going to go read it real quick. And then if you want to go read it, pause, go read it, and then we'll talk about it. I read them. I skimmed over them. I was terrible at being a Bible reader. It's just boring. What I'm gathering of these verses, these chapters, it's the prophecy of Jesus and how he fulfilled it. And I'll just read you the first. God, who at sundry times and in divers manners, which means divers means diverse manners, spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, blah, 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 making him lower than the angels, but above us, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then put all things in subjection under his feet, blah, blah, blah. And then it ends with, for in that he himself has suffered being tempted, he is able to succor them that are tempted. So, it's the whole, Jesus is the fulfillment of the prophecy, and he knows our pain because he was human. Did I get that right? Did I summarize that correctly? Because not a Bible scholar. Bad at reading Bible. Good at listening to what I was supposed to think about the Bible. Let's read that answer again. History, prophecy. Got it. That's why we're talking about history, because prophecy. Got it. I was confused again why these chapters were relevant. History is not continuous repetition. It is God's program for man, built around the person of Jesus Christ. There is a beginning and an ending, blah, 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 blah. So this is just him talking about the prophecy that was in the Old Testament and how Jesus is a fulfillment of that prophecy, and that history can't continuously repeat itself. Otherwise, what's the point? Because if God is just going to have every couple of generations repeat the same shit again, obviously we're not learning. So obviously, that's why he says that. You agree? What are your thoughts? Has history repeated in your lifetime? Is there anything that you feel is a repetition within your lifetime? So we've reached the end of this page. And yes, there was references. I was wrong that there wasn't. I'm right again that there was reference. I was just using it wrong because I'm a woman trying to read a man's book, I guess. So what I think I'm going to do next is at the beginning of the book, it kind of gives you an introductory, gives you a how to use this book thing. And I think it might be good for us to address that. Maybe I'll understand how to use the book. And there were some things in there that I wanted to, like in the introductory and like the first couple of pages, that I think was important to highlight about this book and about the reason that this was created and what expectations of men Bill Gothard had, because kind of opened my eyes a little bit to why some things happened the way they did, and maybe understanding the harms that were also done to the men. A lot of survivors talk about what happened to us as women, and some of the men don't want to talk about their harms because they feel like it will diminish ours. And I will say that here, harm is harm. I think it's important for us to understand both sides. And I think it's important to us to understand what standard they were being held to for us to understand some of their decisions, right or wrong, indifferent. I think it will help us understand. Might make them a little bit more human to us, unfortunately. I mean, if you can't laugh about it. So I think that's what I'm going to do next. With that, I will end this episode. If somebody has not told you today or ever, I am so proud of you. And I really appreciate every single one of y'all that are listening to this and supporting me in this. Appreciate y'all.